Hey everybody, today's video is all about the Beatles album Let It Be and comparing all the officially released versions of Let It Be. So a long time ago when I first started my channel, I had a video, and it's still available by the way if you want to watch it. The video was titled Let It Be versus Let It Be Naked. And in that video, I talked about both Let It Be, the original Let It Be, Phil Spector version, and Let It Be Naked. And I talked about which one I preferred more than the other and my reasons why. This is an update video, and in this video, I'm going to be comparing the original Phil Spector Let It Be with the Glenn Johns version of Get Back, from the obviously same songs that are on Let It Be, with Let It Be Naked, and now also with the Giles Martin remix of the album. Now, the Giles Martin remix and the Get Back Glenn Johns version all come from this amazing box set that was recently released. This is the Let It Be Deluxe Edition 50th Anniversary. So, because of this box right here, we now have two new versions of Let It Be, which is why I am making this video. Because now we get the Giles Martin remix and the Glenn Johns version of Get Back, and these are both within the box set here. So let's now talk about all these albums. So we're going to first talk about the Phil Spector version of the album, because this is the one that most everyone is completely familiar with. This is the album that was released in 1970, and it comes from obviously the Get Back sessions. So for those of you who don't know, I'll give you a quick backstory. So the Beatles, after they recorded the White Album, they decided they wanted to start a new project, and the new project was going to be they were going to put on a live show, and they were going to have a live show with all new songs they were going to write specifically for this live show. And they were going to film this, so they were going to make a documentary of this live show as well. So they were filming rehearsals, and they're going to film the live show. And while all that was going on, they were going to be recording takes of all these songs for a record, and recording this was Glenn Johns, the engineer. And we will be talking about Glenn Johns in a little bit because he put this together. So from all those sessions, they worked on a bunch of songs, and they didn't end up actually doing an official show. They did end up playing on the rooftop of their Apple studios, as I'm sure a lot of you know. And they ended up releasing a movie from all that footage, released as Let It Be, put together by Michael Lindsay Hogg, the original director. But of course, if you flash forward to this year, we just got a brand new documentary from those same sessions called Get Back, put together by Peter Jackson, which, by the way, I absolutely love. I've seen it 3 times now. I'm on my 4th time currently, and it's just an amazing, amazing documentary. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But that's to talk about for another day. Let's get back to the albums here. So after they did the rooftop performance, they then asked Glenn Johns to put together his version of an album, which he did, and we will talk about soon, this Get Back version. But the Beatles didn't like that initially, and they ended up working on Abbey Road, a whole brand new album. They released that. Then after that was done, they their new manager, Alan Klein, was brought in, and he decided they should release the Get Back songs and put them out as a new album titled Let It Be. And with this, he hired Phil Spector, the producer. And by the way, this was given its blessing by John Lennon and George Harrison. They both signed off on having Phil Spector involved. So Phil Spector came into the fold, and he created this. This was the official version that was released. And Phil Spector came in, and he added all kinds of stuff. He did all the usual Phil Spector things. He added orchestrations to songs. He edited songs. He made some songs longer, made some songs shorter. Just did a complete 180 on the recordings that Glenn Johns had originally recorded. Now, of course, when this came out, there was a lot of controversy because the Beatles had already broken up at this point when this album came out. So there was a sour feeling already amongst fans about the band. But obviously, people still love the album because it's the Beatles. But the production was really, really different from anything the Beatles had ever put out before. So there was a lot of controversy surrounding this album. And because of that, Paul McCartney was very unhappy with the way it sounded. And in 2003, the Beatles, the surviving Beatles, put this out. This is Let It Be Naked. This is a digital remix of the Let It Be songs. Basically what this is they took away all of Phil Spector's production and put this out. And really, this was Paul's baby. Paul was unhappy with the original Phil Spector album, and he put this album out. Now, this has been completely, like I said, digitally remastered and put together. Has a bunch of edits going on it. But it does sound good to my ears. I think it's a fine album. It's definitely nice to have along with the original Let It Be. But we will get back to this one. But so this came out in 2003, Let It Be Naked. And then, of course, like I just mentioned, we got this box set, the Let It Be Deluxe Edition 50th Anniversary. And with this set, we got a brand new remix. Here comes Bob the Cat. With this box set, we get a brand new remix done by Giles Martin, son of George Martin. And this is of Phil Spector's version of Let It Be. It's the remix of Phil Spector's version of Let It Be. So this is getting a little confusing, but try to hang in here. So that's what we got right here. And then also, very, which I think is the coolest part of the whole box set, we also get the original Glenn Johns version of Get Back. And so now, because of this, we have all 4 of these versions of, we're going to call it the Let It Be album. So 4 versions now that we can compare. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So first off, you might be asking, Brian, what is your go-to version of Let It Be? If you want to listen to Let It Be, which one is the one you would choose? Now, I've had a lot of time to listen to all of these, of course. Obviously, the original Let It Be, I've listened to my whole life. Let It Be Naked, I've listened to since it came out, 2003. But the newer albums, this Giles Martin remix and the Glenn Johns version, they've been, those are newer to me, of course, although I've had bootleg versions of the Glenn Johns album my whole life as well. But I gotta say, if I want to listen to Let It Be, I will almost always go for the original, this UK pressing, the Phil Spector version. Now, my reason for this is because this is the one I'm just so familiar with. When I think of Let It Be, all the other versions get compared to this one right here. It's the one I've listened to the most. It's the one I love. I do love this album, by the way. Some people don't like it, but I think it's fantastic. It's got excellent songs. And while I do think Phil Spector was obviously heavy-handed when it came to songs like The Long and Winding Road and Across the Universe, I do think some of the stuff he added to like I Me Mine by making it longer and added some orchestration to it, I think he really improved it. And I just like the way he put the album together. It's a great album from start to finish, and I've always really liked it. So this is my main go-to when it comes to Let It Be. That being said, I definitely like all 3 of these additional versions of Let It Be as well. And if I had to choose my favorite amongst these, I would say the Glenn Johns version gets my vote. Now, there's a reason for that. This one, this is the original version that the Beatles wanted to come out. Now, I know some of you are saying, yeah, but it didn't come out because they said they didn't want it to come out at the time. And that is totally correct. But before they put out Abbey Road and before they were even done with the sessions for Get Back, Let It Be, their original idea was to put out an album with no overdubs, completely live, as bare bones as possible, getting back to their roots. And this is as close to that as we'll ever get, which is very cool to have. And on top of that, the sound quality of this is excellent. It really sounds great. You really feel like you're like in the room with them at these sessions, and that is so cool. That is something you can never ever duplicate, I don't think. And also, this album, it has songs that are not included on Let It Be Naked or the original Let It Be. Songs like the song I'm Ready, also known as Rocker, Save the Last Dance for Me, which then goes into Don't Let Me Down, which it is a very short little snippet, but it's really cool. It's a cool little jam session. And then you get the longer version of Dig It, which is a song that, of course, appears on the Let It Be album, but in a much shorter edited version. You get Paul's song Teddy Boy, which is, of course, not complete at all. They're just running through it. But it's really cool to listen to on here because you get, like, dropped down right into the middle of the session of them working on this song that Paul would, of course, then release on his McCartney album. And then, of course, you get versions of The Long and Winding Road without all the strings and a completely different take. So that's a totally different just approach to The Long and Winding Road. Same with Let It Be. You get a different version, a very, very stripped down version, totally live. And you get the one overdub throughout this whole album, and that's on George's song For You Blue. George did redo his vocal in 1970. He redid his vocal, and that does appear on this Glenn Johns version of the album. But I really, really, really love this. It's got that excellent late 60s warmth. It's got the Glenn Johns production, and I have always loved anything Glenn Johns has done. Glenn Johns is a fantastic engineer, and he's just his work speaks for itself, and he did a great job, I think, on this album. And I think now he's finally getting the praise he deserves, that he's deserved for this whole time. So I love the Glenn Johns version of The Beatles Get Back. Excellent version. Now, if I had to choose next what I would pick, I would have to go with the Giles Martin remix of the album. Now, the remix definitely has its issues. And the first issue I will say is that I think he went, like he did with pretty much all of the remixes that he's done, he went really, really heavy-handed when it came to the bass. The low end on here is just really, really overdone. And I will say that it's much better on this vinyl version of the album than it is on the digital versions that I've heard. But it's still way too much, especially like the kick drum on Two of Us. It's just like so boomy, it takes over the whole song. That being said, I do love the clarity that's going on with the songs on here that Giles Martin did. You can really hear a lot of stuff that you couldn't really hear before, especially Billy Preston's piano and organ work, which, in my opinion, is a highlight of the Let It Be album and the Get Back sessions. So for that alone, this version is fantastic. And, it does, generally, it sounds really, really good. And I think he did a really, really fine job. I'm a big fan of Giles Martin. I know a lot of people like to bash on him and say that he's just kind of ruining the Beatles albums. But the thing is, he's creating new versions of these albums, which is what he was been hired to do. And we always have the original Let It Be if you want to listen to that. This is never going to go away. They're not going to burn all the copies or make it illegal to listen to it. It's always going to be here, so you don't have to worry. But that being said, the Giles Martin version is fine, and it's cool. I've listened to it now, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 times, something like that. And I do enjoy it. But it does not compare in any way to the original Let It Be. And I should say, by the way, that when he did make this remix, he was remixing the Phil Spector version of the album. So everything that Phil Spector included, including all the edits and all the overdubs of the orchestration and all that stuff, it's all also on this Giles Martin version as well. So there you go. And then last but not least, I would say that my least favorite of all the 4 would be the Beatles' Let It Be Naked. Now, I have a lot of reasons why this would be my last pick on the list. But I do have to say before I get into it that I actually like this a lot, and I've listened to it a lot. I liked it when it came out. I still like it. I think it's an essential album to own within your Beatles collection. But there are parts of it that I don't like, and here's what I don't like. First off, it was a big missed opportunity in my opinion, because there's so much extra material from the Get Back sessions, as I'm sure a lot of you know, and instead of including a really, really cool bonus disc, they ended up putting out this fly on the wall disc, which for the vinyl release, it's on this 45, and it's just little snippets of songs that they worked on during the Get Back sessions, and it just leaves you wanting more, because the sound quality is really, really great, but you just get 5-second little samples of them working on Don't Let Me Down, or Child of Nature, which is John's song that eventually became Jealous Guy. It's just such a tease, and it's such a wasted opportunity that it really, really, every time I take this album out to listen to it, I'm always reminded of this 45 that I'm just annoyed by. The other thing that going against this is that this was just so heavily edited in Pro Tools that I think they overstepped their bounds even more so than Phil Spector did originally on his version, and I have a reason for that. So they used auto-tune on some parts of John's vocal during Dig a Pony, where there's a part where, technically speaking, he does sing a little bit flat, but that's the spirit of the performance. It's a live performance, so it should not have been altered in any way, but it was on here. So they auto-tuned that. They also edited songs together, so they used two different takes for like Don't Let Me Down. They used two different takes from the rooftop performances, but different takes they edited together. Also, I Got a Feeling, they edited that one together as well. So very inauthentic, not true to the original concept of the album. And really, the whole point of this album, Let It Be Naked, was to go back to that original concept. At least that's the impression I got with this. And while they did do that in a little bit, some sense of it, they really didn't end up doing that. They ended up just making this other like Frankenstein version of the Let It Be album. Besides that, I also just don't like the title. I think the title is A, confusing, and B, just not very creative. Let It Be Naked, it's just kind of silly in my opinion. It would have been even better even to call it Let It Be Part 2 or something like that. I don't know. The good things though about this album, and there are some good things, the version of Across the Universe on here is really, really cool. It's just John and his acoustic guitar, and it just sounds, it's strikingly beautiful is how I would say it. I really love the version of Across the Universe on here. And in fact, it's my go-to version of Across the Universe. I love it on this. Little edit here. My camera ran out of space, but I do want to talk about, I do really enjoy the packaging of this. I think it's really cool. I love the gatefold. It's got a really cool photo in the middle. I like the back, very, very cool. I also like that they include a booklet in here. The booklet is very, very nice. And so it's not all bad. And like I was saying, I do think it's an essential album to own within your Beatles collection. And I think all four of these versions are essential to own within the collection. But if I had to put them in order, I would have Let It Be Naked coming in 4th, the Giles Martin remix coming in 3rd, the Glenn Johns version called Get Back coming in 2nd, and then my go-to, the original Phil Spector version of Let It Be. Now, I'd love to know in the comments below what you think. If you're comparing all four of these official releases against each other, which one is your favorite? Which one do you dislike? I would love to know your opinions about all of these. So let me know in the comments below. And that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for some more. I'm trying to make more videos, and so far I've made 2 in a row. Yes, 2 in a row. I made one yesterday talking about 5 Beatle albums that I think are essential, that are not their studio albums, so like outside of their studio work. And then today I made this Let It Be comparison video. So hopefully tomorrow I'll make another one. I have some ideas, but we'll see if I wake up in the morning and I get my work done and I feel like then making a video. You never know. It could happen. Anyway, that's it for now. And if you're wondering about my shirt, by the way, this very, very cool striped shirt, this belonged to my grandfather. So just want to let you know about that. Al Bringleson, this was his shirt. Now I'm wearing it, and I'm happy to wear it in this video. And he actually recently passed away, so it's just my small little tribute to him. So this video is for you, Grandpa, and that's it for now. So bye for now.